Hello and welcome back to the old podcast. Yeah, I'm back. It's been 2 weeks since I've done one of these things. I was a bit poorly. I had a rather nasty chest infection. I won't go into the gruesome details, but let's just say my voice was up and down for a bit. In fact, you may have probably noticed me getting somewhat croaky during previous podcasts. Anyway, here's a nice little bit of music for you before we start off and generally mowing about life, the universe, and everything.
Stop the music for a few minutes. It's time for news.
Right, I'm going to start this episode by giving you a bit of a confession. You see, I actually considered not doing this podcast anymore. If you recall, I started this, it seems like ages ago now, but I started this when basically the country was in lockdown because of the coronavirus, and I was basically looking for something to do. You know, I had something to say, and I thought I could do it better by speaking rather than writing about it on my blog. I mean, I never expected massive listening figures when I started this. I mean, for a start, I basically just record these things on my mobile phone. You know, I don't have a proper recording studio set up here. I edit them together on a program I downloaded for free on the internet, add a few songs in, bits of music and all that. But, you know, it got to the point last week or so where, you know, I wasn't feeling too well, and, you know, my voice was up and down. You know, I've had umpteen chest infections over the past 4 or 5 years, probably linked to my heart condition, and, you know, I just couldn't be bothered to record a podcast. And, like I said, I considered just not doing it anymore. I mean, I enjoyed doing the mixtape thing, and I still enjoy doing that, you know, because I've got a few good ideas that I'd like to explore with that sort of thing, but the podcast just seemed to be becoming a bit of a chore. And then I thought, you know, screw it. You know, I might as well just record one, see how it goes again. And like I said, I know I'm not going to get massive listeners with this. I could probably do more to promote it a bit more. You know, but, you know, things have changed since I began this week. We're coming out of lockdown now. And the world is changing, although coronavirus is still a massive part of our lives. And I will be discussing that, my recent experiences after the easing of lockdown restrictions in a moment or two. But for now, the podcast will carry on. There probably won't be a regular schedule or anything like that. But like I said, I'm going to carry on, and as long as I have something to talk about, and I know that there are some people out there who listen to this thing. If you do, drop me a line, say hi. Anyway, let's get on to the next bit.
Enough said.
So, the next bit. Well, as you know, here in the UK, Her Majesty's government, under the leadership of Mr. Boris Johnson, have eased the lockdown restrictions. I had intended to do, if you recall, another of my outside broadcast things after this happened, just to see how Cromer was faring, but like I said, the chest infection intervened a little bit. I did go into town for the first time in about a week or so on Monday to see how things were going on, and I know I'm going to sound like a stuck record again, but there are quite a few idiots still out there who just don't realise how serious a situation we are in at the moment. Once again, I'm going to say, some people seem to think social distancing is a suggestion rather than a requirement. Maybe that's a result of what a certain Mr. Cummings did a while back. But the thing is, people just don't seem to realise that this coronavirus is going to be with us for ages. It's not a easy come, easy go thing. It's still out there, and we hear new stories every day from the science bods telling us new things about the virus and all that. I mean, for instance, we've been hearing recent days about new lockdowns being implemented in parts of the world. I mean, here in the UK, there's the lockdown in Leicester. There's been a couple in Spain. There's one in Australia. America really isn't handling their outbreak too well at the moment, and it's kind of ironic that the Brazilian president, who has been saying for months that coronavirus isn't that serious, has just tested positive for it. But I'm going to give you an example here. It's an example of how some people really aren't taking this seriously, and they kind of need to swift kick up the backside. If you go into Cromer town centre at the moment, you'll notice on the pavement says arrows pointing in certain directions in the town centre. This is basically a suggestion from the council and the other local authorities that when you're in the town centre, to help maintain social distancing and all that, you stay on the left-hand side as if you're sort of like driving a car, because we drive on the left in this country. I try to do that, and I tried to do that on Monday, and I tried to do that when I was down there last week as well. But as I was doing this, I was walking on the left-hand side into town, in the town centre. This is something that I actually saw. It was right in front of me. There was this couple. I don't know if they were a local couple. I'm guessing that they may have been day trippers from the way they were reacting. Because as I was walking towards them, they were walking towards me in the opposite direction. They were basically on the wrong side of the road. They should have been on the other path. But they suddenly stopped when they saw one of the arrows on the ground, pointing in the opposite direction to the way that they were walking. They stopped, they looked down at the arrow for a few seconds, and the chap basically pointed in the direction that the arrow was pointing to, and he pointed to another arrow that was a bit further ahead. And then they continued to walk towards me. I thought, should I say something? I thought, no, I'm not going to say anything. Because, I don't want to get into an argument in the street here. I just tried to maintain social distancing, which I couldn't do because they were less than a metre away from me. But that's just the sort of thing that sensible people seem to be up against, and they've been up against the past few months or so. Like I said, coronavirus isn't a here today, gone tomorrow sort of thing. It's going to be around us for God knows how long. And we as people need to work together on this. We need to maintain the social distancing rules, and we need to do certain things to keep ourselves safe. I mean, okay, the part of the UK where I live in has, throughout the pandemic, had the lowest death rates in the country, but that doesn't mean that we're not safe. So if I could end this, I'm going to end this thing by saying this. For God's sake, people, try and obey the rules. Try and maintain social distancing. Try and follow the suggestions in the town centre. Walk on the left-hand side of the path. I know this means you may have to go out of your way a little bit, to get to certain places. But if it means that you're going to be safe, and, if the danger is going to be less, if you just do this one simple thing, then by all means just do it and don't moan about it. The danger is there for all of us. It's the same for you as it is for me.
Excuse me, what happened if you mash this button? What do it do? Oh Lord. Ooh. Oh. Lord. Oh, good.
And now is a bit of an update for you about the speaking out movement that has taken hold in the professional wrestling business, not just here in the UK, but around the world over the past few weeks. I know I haven't paid much attention to the wrestling business over the past few years because of other things and all that, but I took quite a big interest in this when people I know and people I've been associated with in the past hit the headlines. I'm not going to go into the accusations that have been made against them, or about some of the things that I could say. I really don't want to get into that situation at the moment. But one very interesting piece of news is that politicians are going to take an in-depth look at the wrestling business here in the UK. They're setting up a cross-party parliamentary group to look at various things. I don't know exactly how it will work. I have a feeling basically what will happen is there'll be one of those committees that they do, and various people from within the wrestling business itself here in this country will be asked to attend, and they'll be asked various questions, and they'll do a few investigations, and they'll come out with a report. But I suppose I was going to say that we all, those of us who have worked in the industry, those of us who know people who have been in it, and those of us who have encountered the accusers and the accused in the whole speaking out thing, will know that the wrestling business isn't what it should be. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. I could go all out and rant and rave about some of the things that have happened to me and some of the things that I've seen, but I won't. There may be a time and place for that, but I don't think now is that time. So, I do applaud the politicians for looking into this, frankly, the wrestling business does need some sort of regulation. There's been attempts to do this sort of thing over the years. The British Wrestling Council is something that springs to mind, and it's been discussed on various fan forums recently. But there's a big part of me that thinks that, some people are saying that British wrestling needs to police itself. But I don't think British wrestling can police itself. Because some of the people who have been mentioned as people who could come up with regulations and that sort of thing, and being put in positions of authority, that sort of thing, have been accused in the past of, of dirty deeds. I do think it is about time that outsiders, as it were, looked at what happens in the wrestling business. But I do think that those that have been around the wrestling business for a few decades and who are still in it today need to realise something. They need to look at the calendars and realise that we're in the year 2020. We're no longer in the 1970s or the 80s or the 90s even, or even the noughties. I mean, when I first watched wrestling all those years ago, the old world of sport era, I've read about how hard it was to get that first step, to get onto that first rung of the ladder when you wanted to get into the wrestling business. I've heard all the stories about things that people had to do, and about things you have to do when you get into the business. Some of these things are still happening today. I mean, let me give you an example. Wrestling etiquette dictated back when I was in it. When I was doing my show reviews for a certain company and all that. Wrestling etiquette dictated that when a wrestler turned up for the show he was on, or she was on, that he or she had to go around and shake the hand of everyone who worked the show that night. Now, can you imagine if you did that, say, if you worked in a supermarket? If when you started your shift, or before you started your shift, you had to go around shaking everyone's hand before you started. Everyone, you had to shake the hand of everyone who was working that shift with you before you started your work that day. That's just one of the things that is dictated by wrestling etiquette. I mean, I can understand some of the things, but wrestling world is pretty crazy when you think about it. I mean, where else you wouldn't go around in your normal everyday life wearing a t-shirt with your own face on it, would you? Yet you watch sort of like wrestling shows on television, and you always see people wearing t-shirts with their own face and their own name on it. But I'm starting to ramble here, so I'm going to end this little segment by saying, well done to the politician types for deciding that you're finally going to take a look at the wrestling business, and to all the people who are continuing to speak out about the abuse that they've gone through, and the abuse that some of them are getting now, having spoken out. I say well done to you. Well done again. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Potato waffles, a wobbly versatile.
Grill 'em, bake 'em, fry 'em, eat 'em.
Wobbly versatile.
You're a busy woman, busy doing all kinds of things today. So let Mrs. Pauls help make those good foods you want for your family, like fish sticks and fish fillets.
Mrs. Paul makes them. Mrs. Paul makes them. 'Cause she's got plenty to do.
On your last trip, did you discover what the Earth people eat? They eat a great many of these. They peel them with their metal knives. Boil them for 20 of their minutes. Then they smash them all to bits. They are clearly a most primitive people.
For mash, get smash.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me. But if he stopped using lady-scented body wash and switched to Old Spice, he could smell like he's me. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a boat with the man your man could smell it. What's in your hand? Back at me. I have it. It's an oyster with 2 tickets to that thing you love. Look again. The tickets are now diamond. Anything is possible when your man smells like Old Spice and not a lady. I'm on a horse.
Right, some of you may remember that a few weeks ago I put out an appeal on Facebook for something, a little project I was putting together, which I called the Friends and Family Playlist for my mixtape series. Sadly, I've only had one response, so thanks to Thugs for that. Hopefully I'll hear from you again soon. I know there's quite a few people on my Facebook friends list that have recorded music in the past, continue to record music to this day. So I'm going to put this appeal out there again. You know, we're still living in difficult times, what with this virus thing that's going around, and it had been my hope that I could put songs that friends and family have contributed together on one of my mixtape things. I mean, like I said, there's some of you out there on my friends list I know who have recorded professionally in the past. Some of you have released records. Some of you have uploaded videos to YouTube. Some of you have performed on stage. I know there's some of you out there who could contribute to this, and it is something I would really like to do. Like I said, I'm looking for about an hour's worth of material. It doesn't matter if it's old, if it's new, if it's something recorded years ago or something recorded 10 minutes ago. It doesn't matter if it's sort of like made professionally or if it's something you've filmed in your living room while you're singing on a karaoke machine. It's just something I would like to do. I'd like to bring my friends and my family together for this little project, something I can edit together and upload to my Mixcloud account. So if you've got something you would like to contribute, please let me know. I would rather that people submitted something themselves rather than I sort of like go trawling through the internet and just grab stuff off, because I wouldn't want to upload this to my Mixcloud account and then people to see this and say, well, I didn't give my permission for that, you know, how can you use that, it's bloody awful and that sort of thing. So like I said, if you want to contribute, you know, please let me know. I know there's a lot of you out there on my friends list. Hopefully you all listen to this podcast of mine, and hopefully I can sort something out with you. It doesn't matter what genre, or if it's good. If I think it's good enough, it'll go on the mixtape. So, well, that's about it for this edition of the podcast. Like I said, it's been a couple of weeks, so don't forget to keep an eye on my blog at twoshedsreview.blogspot.com for latest updates. You know, I'm writing a little bit more now and then, as it were. Also, don't forget you can listen to old episodes and the mixtape series on my Mixcloud page, the links which will be put on my blog. Next mixtape series will be music from the year 2001. I've chosen that year because that's the year I turned 30. So I thought, after having done loads of 60s and 70s and 80s stuff, I should get a bit more modern. Although, can you call 2001 modern as we're in 2020? Anyway, thanks for listening, and to everyone, stay safe, and, well, thanks for listening. Bye.
required monthly test of the emergency alert system originating from the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, Harrisburg, satellite uplink truck number 3. This is only a test.